All right, shalom, and welcome to another show of GMS Collage. Giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai, that's first and foremost. Also, double honors to the elder apostles of GMS who rule well, and honor and salutations and peace and blessings to you, other brothers who are of the hopeful elect. All right, so today's topic is going to be on something that has recently been kicked back up in Israel, which is the whole Israelite foreigner thing, and Israelites looking like the other nations, and Cornelius being an Israelite, and this is one of those things that it's a stumbling block unto a lot of people. There's a lot of people in Israel, and there's a lot of people in Israel in general, even those who don't know they're Israelites, but also those who know they're Israelites stumble on this topic here. So I wanted to touch on it a little bit and go into a couple of scriptures and just talk about how we got to other lands, how we became to be known as heathens and Gentiles and foreigners and so forth and so on, and show you some prophecies that spoke about not only us being taken out of the land and being dispersed into the other nations, but also the prophecy of a time where we would come back together from that dispersion or diaspora, or whatever you want to say. So I was watching a video earlier. You had this brother Yashawamba did a repost of a response that a brother did to some guy saying that we're going off GMS, or not he didn't say GMS, but we're really the only group that talks about this topic. But he said Hebrew Israelites are going off in their breakdown about Cornelius, and Cornelius wasn't Cornelius wasn't an Israelite, and because we say devout, and it's just a simple-minded guy. But in any way, he's not the only one that has this thought. And I was thinking to myself as I was watching the video, I was saying, one of the reasons why Jake thinks that the Israelite foreigners are talking about the other nations is because they themselves think that they are the heathen nations, and those so-called white people that are over there calling themselves Jews are the children of Israel. So if we tell them that the Israelite foreigners we're talking about Israelites, then they think that they're excluded from being accepted by the blood of the Lord Yahushai. And that's not the case. We say that the Israelite foreigners are the Gentiles or the heathens that it was speaking about in the New Testament that were coming into the knowledge of the truth. They were Israelites, but we're not absolving ourselves of that. We're saying that we're the Israelites. So for those who stumble at this thing, is for one, they don't understand what the prophecies say, and for two, they remove themselves away from being Israelites. So they lumping themselves into the heathen or the Gentile, so that they can fit into this thing. But really, you are the ones that should fit into this thing. These scriptures were talking about us, even us that are in the know, even us that are calling ourselves Israelites. We at one time were heathens or Gentiles because we didn't know about this truth. We didn't know that we were Israelites. We didn't know about the law, statutes, and commandments. We didn't know about our history and our heritage. We didn't know about these things until we came into the truth, and then we were proselytized, right? We switched from the way we were living in the world to the way we live now, which is according to what the scriptures say Israelite man or woman should do. So I got a couple of scriptures here. Forgive me if I ramble a little bit. Hopefully this is edifying. So first I wanted to talk about how matter of fact, let me look up this word. I wasn't gonna do it like this, but let's look up this word. First I'll look it up in English. Do it like that. Dispersed. Says this is the word disperse. Okay, it says past tense, dispersed, past participle, dispersed, distribute or spread over a wide area. Storms can disperse seeds via high altitudes. Synonyms: scatter, disseminate, distribute, spread, broadcast. Go or cause to go in different directions or to different destinations. The crowd dispersed. Some synonyms there: disband, scatter, leave. With reference to gas, smoke, mist, or cloud, thin out or cause to thin out and disappear. All right. So this is what happened to the nation of Israel. We were dispersed throughout all the nations or countries throughout the world. This is why you had people calling themselves Parthians, Medes. They were calling themselves Elamites. They might have been calling them. Most of them were calling themselves Greeks, which is why you have the word Hellen or Hellenist, right? So we were calling ourselves by all these different names because this is the land that we were dispersed into. Some of us dispersed by choice, which I'm going to read in Maccabees, right? Some of us, well, in Maccabees it's kind of a mix. It was by choice and by force because the Greeks were coming into our land, taking our land. Some of us were taken out by captivity, and some of us were born into heathenism, if you will. So there were all different kinds of reasons why we were dispersed, but the fact of the matter is that we were dispersed, and it was by the hands of the Heavenly Father, because it was prophesied that the children of Israel would be removed from their land, taken out of their land, and another people would occupy that land. But then it prophesied that they would come back into that land and come back into their to knowing their heritage. And it happened twice. It happened once in ancient times during the Acts of the Apostles, and now it's happening again where we were again being behaving like heathens and Gentiles, and now we're coming back to our heritage again. So I want to look up this other word, the Greek form of that same word. I think it's right there. Boom. Diaspora. It got specific. I didn't expect that. It says the dispersion of the Jews beyond Israel. Jews living outside Israel. The dispersion of any people from their original homeland. You see? And what you're going to see when I look up some of these Greek words, when it says scatter or disperse, you're going to see this Greek word diaspora. Right? So let's see where I want to start. Let's start with I'll start with Maccabees. Why not? Let's go to Maccabees. I already got it pulled up here. So this is first Maccabees 1, and I'm gonna start at the 30th verse, I think it is. I will start at let me find a good. Bear with me for a second. I just want to find a good place to start. All right, so this is talking about King Antiochus when he gained power, in which not just him but every nation that gained power. One of the first things that they try to do is put the shackles on the nation of Israel. And the reason being, every nation on earth has had their opportunity to rule, right? And the world knows, the rest of the world knows, these other nations know that they only rule because Israel is in a bad case, because they're in a bad state of mind. So the first thing that they try to do is to either kill us off or besiege us and move us out of the land. You can go into history and find every time a power took the helm, whether it was Alexander or in this case Antiochus, Darius, Cyrus, all these different rulers, Nebuchadnezzar, all these different rulers in history, their main plight was to take down the children of Israel. Now, when you read it in history, when you like say in like a world history in school, or when you Google it or something like that, the Israelite plight is kind of erased. But this is why the Heavenly Father sent the Comforter, so that we can have our point of view of what happened in history. Because we are the central part of world history. Every captivity that has been on this earth has been the nation of Israel, whether they were being called Israel or not. Every captivity that happened on this earth was those people. So in this case it's Antiochus. So I want to read some of this. So it says, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels also. I'm sorry, this is first. I don't know if I said. I'll say it anyway. So it's First Maccabees 1:23. It says, he took also the silver and gold and the precious vessels also he took. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. So this is talking about Antiochus here. So it says, therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. So see, this is what they did. And this was the plight. We got to make sure that us being in power stays this way. And the only way it can stay that way is if Israel is besieged, if they're destroyed, if they're starving, if they're depending on the person who is in power. So they know this. So this is what they do. They besiege the city, they destroy it, and they weaken it from inside. Right? It says, but the women and children took they captive and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall and mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. So you see, the Greeks even started moving into the land. I'm talking about the Edomite Greeks, right? It says, and they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. They stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare. You see, and also another thing too, Israel is the epicenter of the whole world. So when they were setting up the armory and the victuals, and that was because that was the central place of the whole entire world. Whoever controlled that land could have access to everything that goes on this planet, and it's still that same way today. So it says, for it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary, and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. Here's the point here in verse 38. It says, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. You see? So that turmoil and that besiege that happened to the nation of Israel was so heavy that a lot of our people left the land. So a piece of this is, I can't stay here and deal with this shit. I'm out of here. But again, there was another side of it, which was by force. So this was a mix here. They were forcing themselves into the land. When I say they, I'm talking about the Edomite Greeks. They were forcing themselves into our land, building up the land for themselves. So our people fled and left, right? It says, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. You see, so our own people, they left the land because of all of this stuff that was going on, right? So this is long before the Lord Yahushai came on the scene, right? So where did these people go, right? Where did these people go? So I want to go from there to where was I at? What did I type? I think it was Ezekiel. Was it Ezekiel? Yeah, it was, but you know what? No, that's not what I want to do. I want to go here, First Kings, and give another example. Oh no, I want to give the prophecy. That's what I wanted to say. First Kings 11 and 29. Alright, I'm looking at my notes here, so bear with me for a second. Yeah, so this is the prophecy of what would happen to the nation of Israel, right? Now this happened, this split happened due to our King Solomon and the way he handled himself as king. This was a punishment that was going to happen, that the kingdom would be rent out of his hand, right? So this is 1 Kings 11 and 29. It says, "And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem, that the prophet Ahijah, the Shilonite, found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field. And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces." Now, you know, we know that these 12 pieces is a semblant of the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And he said to Jeroboam, "Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the Most High, Yahweh of Israel, behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon and will give 10 tribes to thee." You see, that's the proof that it's talking about the 12 tribes. It says, "But he shall have one tribe for thy servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel." You see, so you have that one tribe was that tribe of Judah. And also, when you go, I think it's the next chapter. I don't have it written down. I don't know why I didn't write it down, but I think it's the next chapter. You had it'll tell you that Judah and Benjamin were the two that joined together to fight against the northern kingdom. So you had that split. You had the northern kingdom, which were the 10 tribes, and then you had two that stayed together, right? But if you go to let's go here. No, I don't want to mess that one up. I'll go here. I think it's 13 and 33. All right. So it says, this is Matthew 13 and 33. It says, "And another parable spake he unto them, the kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened." Now this 3 measures of meal is symbolic of the 3 tribes that stayed in the land. So you had, again, like I said, Judah and Benjamin, but you had Levi also. Now how you get Levi was the Levites that were spread amongst Judah and Benjamin because of the priesthood. That was their lot, to be spread amongst the tribes, right? So you had some Levi that went with the 10 tribes, and you had some Levi that stayed. But you had those 3. That's what makes up those 3 tribes: Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Now it says, "And it was hid in 3 measures of meal till the whole was leavened." That's the prophecy. The prophecy was that it was going to be some people that stayed in the land until the whole came back together, right? So let's go back to that in Kings. It says, I'll read 31 again. It says, "And he said to Jeroboam, Take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, the power of Israel. Behold, I will rend the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, for Jerusalem's sake, the city which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel. Because that they have forsaken me, and have worshipped Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Zidonians, Chemosh, the god of the Moabites, and Milcom, the god of the children of Ammon, and have not walked in my ways to do that which is right in mine eyes, and to keep my statutes and my judgments, as did David his father. Howbeit, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, but I will make him prince all the days of his life for David my servant's sake, whom I choose, because he kept my commandments and my statutes. But I will take the kingdom out of his son's hand, and will give it unto thee, even 10 tribes. You see, so this is saying that 10 of the tribes would be taken out of the land, right? So you had, so now there's two ways you have now. You had Maccabees, people being dispersed, right? Now you had the Lord saying that He was going to take them out of the land due to their wickedness, right? Which Maccabees was due to their wickedness too. But I'm just trying to show you a couple different angles, right? So you got that, right? So the another point I wanted to make was, when you get to the so-called New Testament, what you'll see is that it was a known thing that there was a diaspora. It wasn't a mystery. It wasn't something that they didn't know. It was a known thing that there were some children of Israel that were dispersed into other lands, and the proof of that is John 7:35, right? It's the proof of it right here, John 7:35. It says, then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Right, so let's see what that word dispersed means, so you can understand who this is talking about. You got this word here, the dispersed, right? You see, there's that word that I looked up in the beginning, diaspora, right? The dispersion of the Jews beyond Israel, right? So let's go back. Diaspora. Let's see. It says here. Let's see. Let me play it. I'm gonna play it.
Strong's G1290. Diaspora.
Right, diaspora, or diaspora is how we'd say it in English rendition, right? So it says a scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. You see, of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles. So that word dispersed is talking about the children of Israel that were sent to other nations or other lands, right, or other countries. So let me read it again. It says, then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? So this is what they knew. They knew that there were Israelites that weren't in the land anymore, that had got sent away and were being called Gentiles. They knew this, so it wasn't a mystery. It became a mystery in this time, because the verbiage that's used in English, like Gentile or heathen, it'll give you the notion that these people, that when it says Gentiles, when it says the dispersed, when it says all these, or heathen, when it says these words, you would think that it was talking about the other nations, but it never has been. It's always been talking about the children of Israel, right? So I wanted to show you something, because I was looking for a scripture in particular, but I typed in among the heathen, and a bunch of scriptures came up to show that the children of Israel, it was prophesied that they would be scattered among the heathen, right? So it says, this is Ezekiel 11:16. It says, I'm gonna read a bunch of them. So it says, this is Ezekiel 11:16. It says, therefore say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, although I have cast them far off among the heathen, and although I have scattered them among the countries, yet will I be to them as a little sanctuary in the countries where they shall come. You see, so this is how they knew. This is how they the Israelites of the day, when you go to the New Testament, this is how they knew that there were Israelites in other lands, because it was prophesied that it would happen. And they, of course, they had records and things that they kept of the different captivities that happened, what lands we went into, who held us captive, and so forth and so on. This is why we have the scriptures today, right? These are records that were kept in those times, so we could know where we were, who we were, where we came from, and so forth and so on, right? Our perspective on what is now modern history was taken out of modern history, and the Bible was the only thing that we had left, right? So this is a chronicle of what happened to us. So Ezekiel 12:16, it says, "But I will leave a few men of them from the sword, from the famine, and from the pestilence, that they may declare all their abominations among the heathen whither they come, and they shall know that I am the Lord." You see? So it says that we would come from among heathen, right? So I think there's another one too in Ezekiel that I didn't see. I'll go to it in a second. Matter of fact, let me do it now. I think it's 5. Try 5. This is Ezekiel 5:5. It says, "Thus saith the Lord power, or the Lord Yahweh, I should say. This is Jerusalem. I have set it in the midst of the nations and countries that are round about her." You see? So this is what you have to understand when you get to the so-called New Testament and you hear things like Gentiles and heathen. You got to know who it's talking about, because there are actual Gentiles and heathen, but then there are heathen and Gentiles that are being called such, but they are Israelites living like Gentiles and heathen, right? So it says, "And she hath changed my judgments into wickedness more than the nations, and my statutes more than the countries that are round about her. For they have refused my judgments and my statutes, they have not walked in them. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because ye multiply more than the nations that are round about you, and have not walked in my statutes, neither have kept my judgments, neither have done according to the judgments of the nations that are round about you. Therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I, even I, am against thee, and will execute judgments in the midst of thee, in the sight of the nations. And I will do in thee that which I have not done, and whereto I will not do any more the like, because of all thine abominations. Therefore the father shall eat the sons in the midst of thee, and the sons shall eat their fathers, and I will execute judgments in thee, and the whole remnant of thee will I scatter into all the winds." You see? So this is what happened to us. We were scattered into all the winds. Matter of fact, let me look up that word scatter. See what that says. Scatter thee into the winds. Zara. Let me play it.
Strong's H2219. Zara. Zara.
Yeah, and if you look here, you can see where that word in Hebrew is used in other scriptures. Scattered, dispersed, fan, spread, winnowed, cast away, scattered away, compass, strawed. To scatter, fan, cast away, winnow, disperse, compass, or compass, spread, be scattered, be dispersed, to scatter, to fan, to winnow, to be scattered, be dispersed. You see? So it's the same verbiage. It was prophesied that our people will be sent into the other nations. So this is why when you get all these different, and when you read in Acts, when Paul was going to Corinth, and when he was going to Rome, and when he was going to Cappadocia, when he was going to Ephesus, when he was going to Galatia, when he was going to Corinth, when he was going to all these different lands, he was going to the Israelites that had, matter of fact, let's go to James 1:1. Let's go to James 1:1. It says, "James, a servant of Yahweh and the Lord Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting." You see? So these are the things that we got. You know, I wish I would have remembered the guy's name, but these are the things that they miss. He was a proud dude too, man. You see the look on his face. He was talking shit too, you know, calling us Nicolites. Jake is crazy, boy. Let me see here. Let me see. What am I looking for? Okay, scattered. I'm sorry. Yep, there's that word again. Diaspora. See? A scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations. You see? You see? So this is when you get Acts the 2nd chapter, when you get James 1:1, when you get all of these different scriptures that speak to Israelite foreigners or what the world knows as Gentiles, it's talking about Israelite foreigners. You see? So I want to go back to where I was. Yeah, let's go back here. This is Ezekiel 16:14. It says, and thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord power. I want to look up that word renown. Thy renown. Oh, thy name. Okay. Name, reputation, fame, glory, the name as designation of the Most High, memorial, monument. So what it's saying, your name went forth among the heathen, right? That's where we were sent. Our reputation, our heritage was all sent among the heathen because of the way we behaved, right? Let's see here. Ezekiel 24. But I wrought for my name's sake that it should not be polluted before the heathen among whom they were, and whose sight I made myself known unto them. It says, and bringing them forth out of the land of Egypt. Ezekiel 20:23. I lifted up mine hand unto them also in the wilderness, that I would scatter them among the heathen and disperse them through the countries. You see? Ezekiel 22:15. And I will scatter thee among the heathen and disperse thee in the countries, and will consume thy filthiness out of thee. Ezekiel 28:25. And thus saith the Lord Yahweh, when I shall have gathered the house of Israel from the people among whom they were are scattered, and shall be sanctified in them in the sight of the heathen, then shall they dwell in their land that I have given to my servant Jacob. You see? This is Ezekiel 36:19. It says, and I scattered them among the heathen, and they were dispersed through the countries according to their way, and according to their doings I judged them. Ezekiel 36:21. But I had pity on mine holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen, and so forth and so on. You see? So it was prophesied that we would be spread among the heathen. This is why it wasn't a mystery to the Israelites of the day. So when you read in Acts, they understood that those people that were that the Lord was having Paul go to and Peter go to and so forth and so on. They understood that those people were indeed Israelites. They understood it. It became a stumbling block in this day, because again, our people associate themselves with being heathen, and the Edomite Jews of today being the children of Israel. So if we're telling them that no, those were Israelites, then that means we're excluding them. But no, we're not excluding you, because you are the Israelites, and the Israelite foreigners were our people. You see? So I think I made the point. Hopefully, it was edifying. I just wanted to, show that the reason why, we were being called heathens and Gentiles is because we were dispersed among the heathen and the Gentiles. You see? All right. So with that being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. I also want to give double honors to the elder apostles who rule well and who have given us the tools to teach this truth. And also honor and salutations to you other brothers that are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth. And with that, I'm going to say shalom.